So this dude straight up unalives his entire family over a rotisserie chicken recipe? I am not making this up. This isn't a movie plot. This isn't an episode of The Sopranos. This is real life. We are talking about a guy who put on a white silk suit like he's some kind of 1980s Miami drug lord, grabbed 2 pistols, walked into his sister's house for a nice family dinner, and then turned the dining room into a slaughterhouse. And the reason? Chicken. Well, chicken and a very specific, very potent garlic sauce. If you live in Los Angeles, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've probably eaten at this place. It's called Zankou Chicken. It is legendary. It is iconic. Beck mentions it in his songs. The Curb Your Enthusiasm guy Larry David eats there. It is a staple of LA culture. People are obsessed with this place. They will wait in line for 45 minutes just to get a wrap. But what those people don't know, what you probably don't know, is that the family dynasty behind that delicious golden chicken is built on a foundation of jealousy, betrayal, cancer, paranoia, and ultimately a triple murder-suicide that shook the entire city. You think your family Thanksgiving is awkward? You think your family fights over money? Trust me, you have no idea. This story has everything: a war-torn escape from Beirut, a rise to massive wealth, a mother-son bond that turned toxic, and a legal battle that is so petty it's actually kind of impressive. Today, we are going to deep dive into the Zankou Chicken murders. We are going to break down exactly how a dream of feeding people turned into a nightmare of destroying them. So hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is going to go completely off the rails and you do not want to miss a single second of it. Let's get into it. To understand the bloodbath, we have to understand the business. And to understand the business, we have to go back in time. We are going all the way back to 1962. The location? Beirut, Lebanon. Now, in 1962, Beirut was the place to be. They called it the Paris of the Middle East. It was glamorous, it was rich, it was sophisticated, and living there was an Armenian couple named Mardiros and Mardiros Iskenderian. Mardiros was the charmer. He was the face. He was the kind of guy who could sell ice to an Eskimo. Mardiros, she was the talent. She was the chef. And together, they decided to open a small restaurant. They found a tiny spot on a busy street corner in the Burj Hamad district. It wasn't fancy, it was small, but they had a vision. They named it Zankou, after a river in Armenia. It was a nod to their heritage, a nod to where they came from. At first, they were just selling rotisserie chicken. And look, rotisserie chicken is good. Everyone likes chicken, but you can get chicken anywhere. To make a restaurant a legend, you need a secret weapon. You need something that makes people addicted to it. You need something that makes people wake up in the middle of the night craving it. And Margaret, she found it. She went into the kitchen and she started experimenting. She took garlic, fresh, raw, potent garlic. She took lemon juice. She took oil. She took salt. And she started mixing. She whipped it, she beat it, she emulsified it, and out came toom. If you have never had toom, let me try to describe it to you. It looks like white clouds. It looks like marshmallow fluff. But when you put it in your mouth, it is an explosion. It is pure, concentrated garlic flavor. It burns a little bit. In a good way, it is creamy, it is tangy, it is perfect. But here's the catch. It is strong. I mean radioactively strong. If you eat Zankou garlic sauce, you cannot talk to anyone for 24 hours. Your pores will sweat garlic. Your car will smell like garlic for a week. Vampires will not just avoid you, they will file a restraining order against you. But the people of Beirut, they didn't care. They fell in love with it. The restaurant became a sensation. People would line up down the block. Mardiros would stand at the door, shaking hands, kissing babies, welcoming everyone like they were family. Margaret would be in the back, whipping up gallons of that white gold. And watching it all was her son, Mardiros. Mardiros Iskenderian. Remember that name. He is the protagonist and the villain of this story. At this time, Mardiros is just a young man. He's handsome, he's ambitious, he's watching his parents build a fortune, and he's taking notes. He sees the power of the brand, he sees how much people love the food, and he starts to think, one day, this is all going to be mine, and I'm going to make it even bigger. For 20 years, the Iskenderians are the kings of chicken in Beirut. They have money, they have status, they are living the good life. But in this part of the world, stability is a luxury, and in the late 1970s, the floor drops out. Lebanon falls into a civil war, and this isn't just a little skirmish, this is full-blown catastrophe. The city is divided, militias are roaming the streets, bombs are going off in neighborhoods. The beautiful Paris of the Middle East turns into a war zone. The Iskenderians tried to hold on. They love their home, they love their restaurant, but eventually it becomes too dangerous. They realize that if they stay, they're going to die. So in the early 1980s, they make the hardest decision of their lives. They leave. They leave the restaurant, they leave the house, they leave their reputation. They pack whatever they can carry, and they flee to the United States. They land in Los Angeles. Now, I want you to picture this transition. You go from being a local celebrity in Beirut, wealthy and respected, to being a nobody in East Hollywood. Los Angeles in the 80s was a melting pot, but it was also tough. The Iskenderians didn't speak perfect English. Their Lebanese money didn't go as far as they hoped. They were starting over from scratch. At first, Vartkes and Markred, the parents, are scared. They don't want to open a restaurant. They think, we got lucky once. Can we do it again? What if it fails? What if Americans don't like the garlic sauce? So they try other things. They open a dry cleaning business. Can you imagine? The woman who created a culinary masterpiece is now scrubbing stains out of someone's polyester suit. It's a tragedy. It's beneath them. But they do it because they need to survive. Spoiler alert, they're bad at dry cleaning. The business fails. They try selling men's suits. That fails too. They are hemorrhaging money. They are stressed. The American dream is looking like a total scam. They are looking at their bank accounts and sweating. But Mardiros, the son, he hasn't given up on the chicken. He looks around Los Angeles, he sees the demographics changing, he sees thousands of Armenians and Arabs moving into the city, he sees Little Armenia forming in East Hollywood. He goes to his parents and he says, listen to me, we are wasting our time with dry cleaning. We know chicken, we know garlic, we need to open Zankou here. His parents are hesitant. They say, it's too risky, it's too much work. Mardiros pushes, he pleads, he argues. He says, I will do the work, I will run it, just give me the chance. Finally, in 1983, they agree. They scrape together their remaining savings, they find a location on the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Normandy Avenue. It's not a palace, it's a gritty little corner in a strip mall. They put up the sign, Zankou Chicken. They turn on the ovens, they whip up the garlic sauce, and they open the doors.
What happened next was not just success, it was a phenomenon. Almost immediately, the lines started forming. First, it was the immigrants. They came because they missed the taste of Beirut. They ate the shawarma, they ate the tarna, they ate the rotisserie chicken, and they cried tears of joy. It tasted like home. But then, the word got out. Los Angeles is a food city, and in LA, people love a hidden gem. They love finding a hole in the wall that serves 5-star food for $5 prices. The food critics came. Jonathan Gold, the Pulitzer Prize-winning writer, came in and ate the chicken. He wrote a review that was basically a love letter. He told the entire city of Los Angeles that if they weren't eating at Zankou, they were wasting their lives. Suddenly, Zankou Chicken wasn't just an Armenian place, it was an LA place. Musicians started coming. The rock star Beck started eating there. He literally mentioned Zankou Chicken in his song Deborah. That is cultural impact, folks. By the early 90s, that one little store on Sunset in Normandy was a gold mine. It was printing money. We are talking millions of dollars a year in revenue, cash business. The family was rich again. Vartkes and Margaret bought a nice house. They were back on top. But here's the thing about money. It doesn't solve problems. It just magnifies them. Mardiros, the son, saw this success and his eyes turned into dollar signs. He thought, we have one store making millions. Imagine if we had 10. Imagine if we had 50. We could be the next McDonald's. We could be global. He went to his parents. He said, let's franchise. Let's expand. Let's take over the world. And his parents? They slammed on the brakes. Vartkes and Margaret were traditional. They were old. They had been through a war. They just wanted peace. They said no. If we expand, the quality goes down. If we expand, it's too much stress. We are happy. We are rich. Why risk it? This is the classic conflict. The ambitious son versus the conservative parents. The new generation versus the old generation. And this conflict started a fire that would eventually burn the whole house down. The fighting in the Iskenderian house got bad. Screaming matches, slammed doors. Mardiros felt like his parents were holding him back. He felt like he was the engine of the business, but they were the brakes. Finally, in 1991, they sat down to make a deal. They decided to split the business, but not a clean split. Oh no, that would be too easy. They made a split that was so complicated, it was basically a recipe for disaster. Here was the deal. The parents, Vartkes and Margaret, would keep the original restaurant in Hollywood. They would own it, they would keep the profits, they would run it their way. Mardiros would get the right to open new Zankou Chicken restaurants. He could expand. He could open as many as he wanted. He would own those new restaurants 100%. He would keep the profit. But they would all share the name. They would all share the logo. They would all share the secret recipes. It seemed like a win-win. The parents get their steady income. The son gets his empire. So Mardiros went to work. He was a beast. He opened a location in Glendale. Huge success. He opened one in Van Nuys. Huge success. He opened one in Pasadena. Huge success. He was proving them wrong. He was showing them that expansion could work. He was building a chain. He was becoming the Chicken King of Los Angeles. But then, in 1992, the father, Vartkes, died. This was a huge blow. Vartkes was the peacemaker. He was the buffer between the ambitious son and the stubborn mother. With him gone, the dynamic shifted. Mardiros became the patriarch. He was now the head of the family. And in his mind, that meant he should be in charge of everything, including the original store. But his mother, Margaret, she wasn't having it. She was still the matriarch. She still owned the Hollywood store, and she had her sisters on her side. So now you have two factions, Team Mardiros versus Team Mom and Sisters. They are family. They spend holidays together. They eat dinner together. But underneath the surface, there is a war brewing over who really owns the soul of Zankou Chicken. Throughout the 90s, the tension simmered, but they were making so much money that they could ignore it. Then came the diagnosis. In the early 2000s, Mardiros started feeling ill. He was losing weight, he was in pain, but he was a tough guy. He didn't go to the doctor, he powered through it. By the time he finally got checked out, it was too late. Bladder cancer, stage 4. This news shattered him. Mardiros was a man who prided himself on his vitality. He was handsome, he wore expensive suits, he drove fast cars. He was the prince, and now his body was betraying him. He started treatment, chemo, radiation. It was brutal. He withered away. He lost his hair, he lost his strength, and as his body got weaker, his mind got darker. According to reports, the cancer eventually spread to his brain. And when that happens, it can affect your cognition. It can affect your personality. Mardiros started to become paranoid. He started to believe that his mother and sisters were plotting against him. He believed that they were waiting for him to die so they could swoop in and take his restaurants. He believed they wanted to cut his wife and kids out of the business. He would sit in his mansion, high on pain meds, weak from chemo, and he would stew. He would replay every argument, every slight, every disagreement from the last 20 years. The relationship with his mother completely collapsed. Margaret, according to some sources, was not exactly the most nurturing figure during this time. She was a tough, hardened survivor. She had lived through wars. She wasn't the type to coddle. Some reports say she gave him the silent treatment. They were living in the same house, and she wouldn't speak to him. She wouldn't ask him how he was feeling. She wouldn't look at him. Imagine that. You are dying. You are terrified, and your own mother is treating you like a ghost. Then the house fire happened. A fire broke out in their shared home. It was accidental, supposedly, but it was the final break. Margaret moved out. She moved in with her daughter Zig in Glendale. Now Mardiros was alone. Well, he had his wife and kids, but he felt cut off from the main family. He felt like an outcast. He became obsessed with the idea of legacy. He wanted to make sure that when he died, his empire would go to his sons. He wanted to make sure his mother and sisters couldn't touch it. He tried to negotiate with them. He tried to get them to sign papers. He tried to solidify the trademark rights.
But they resisted. They argued. They stood their ground. And in Mardiros' mind, this resistance was proof. Proof that they were enemies. Proof that they were betrayers. Proof that they had to be stopped. We have now arrived at January 14, 2003, the day the music died. Mardiros woke up that morning. He was in pain, as always, but on this day, he had a clarity of purpose. He went to his closet. He pushed past the comfortable clothes, the sick clothes. He reached into the back and pulled out a suit. It was a white silk suit. He hadn't worn this suit in 20 years. It was from his glory days. It was a suit that said, "I am the boss. I am the prince." He put it on. It hung loosely on his cancer-ridden frame, but he buttoned it up. He combed what was left of his hair. He put on his cologne. He grabbed 2 guns, a 9mm Browning semi-automatic pistol and a .38 caliber revolver. Checked the ammo. He tucked them into his waistband. He walked downstairs. His wife, Rita, saw him. She must have been shocked. Here was her dying husband, dressed like he was going to a gala. She asked him where he was going. He didn't really answer. He just said he had business to take care of. He got into his car and drove to Glendale. He drove to his sister Zig's house. Now, I want you to imagine this drive. It's a short drive, maybe 20 minutes. What was going through his head? Was he crying? Was he angry? Was he praying? Or was his mind just a blank, static of pain and resolve? He pulled up to the house. He got out. He walked to the door. Zig opened it. She saw her brother, her big brother, the one she had grown up with in Beirut, the one she had fled a war with. She saw the white suit. She probably thought, he's losing it. The cancer is making him eccentric. But she let him in. He was his sister. She offered him a drink, lemonade. He accepted. They sat at the dining room table. They waited. They were waiting for their mother, Margaret. She was at the restaurant working. Zig had called her and said, "Mardiros is here. He wants to talk." Margaret arrived a little while later. She walked in. She saw her son. She sat down. So there they were, the 3 pillars of the family, the mother, the son, the daughter, sitting around a table in a nice suburban house in Glendale. They talked. We will never know exactly what was said in those final minutes. Maybe Mardiros asked for the trademark one last time. Maybe he asked for an apology. Maybe he just asked, "Why don't you love me?" Whatever the answer was, it wasn't what he wanted to hear. The conversation stopped. Mardiros stood up. He reached into his waistband. He pulled out the 9mm. He didn't say a catchphrase. He didn't make a speech. He leveled the gun at his sister Zig, and he pulled the trigger. He shot her in the head. She slumped over, dead instantly. Margaret, the mother, screamed. She stood up. She tried to run. She tried to get away from her son. Mardiros turned the gun on her. He shot her. She fell. But one shot wasn't enough. The rage that had been building for years, the cancer, the paranoia, the jealousy, it all poured out of him. He stood over his mother and he kept shooting. Bang, 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 bang. He emptied the clip, he reloaded, he shot her again. Police reports say she was hit more than 10 times. He desecrated her. He wanted to make sure she was gone. He wanted to destroy the source of his pain. When the gun was empty, silence filled the house. There were other people there. A housekeeper. Zig's son was in the other room. They heard the shots. They hid. They were terrified. They thought they were next. But Mardiros didn't go looking for them. He wasn't a spree killer. He wasn't a monster who wanted to kill everyone. He had a specific list, and he had checked every name off. Except one. He walked into the living room. He sat down. He was probably exhausted. The physical exertion of the murders, combined with his cancer, must have drained him. He took a breath. He thought about his life. Beirut. The garlic sauce. The money. The white suit. He put the gun to his temple, and he ended it. When the police arrived, they found the bodies. They found the white suits soaked in blood. They found the end of the Iskenderian family as we knew it. The news broke and Los Angeles was in shock. Zankou Chicken was a beloved institution. It was a happy place. To find out that the owner had just massacred his family, it didn't compute. But the story doesn't end with the funerals. Because remember, there were still restaurants. There were still millions of dollars at stake. And the survivors, they didn't hug it out. They didn't bond over the tragedy. They lawyered up. Mardiros' wife, Rita, and her sons took control of the restaurants Mardiros had built. Zig's family and the remaining sisters took control of the original Hollywood location. And then, the Great Zankou Civil War began. They sued each other over the trademark. Who owns the name Zankou Chicken? Rita argued, "My husband built this brand. He expanded it. It's ours." The sisters argued, "Our parents started it. It belongs to the trust. It's ours." The court battle dragged on for years. It was ugly. It was expensive. And the result, the court basically threw up its hands and said, "You both get it." The judge ruled that both sides of the family could continue to operate as Zankou Chicken, but they had to remain separate entities. So think about how insane this is. If you go to Google right now and type in Zankou Chicken, you will find two websites. ZankouChicken.com and ZankouChicken.la. They look almost identical. They use the same logo, they sell the same food, they use the same recipes. But they are mortal enemies. One website lists the locations owned by Mardiros' family, Pasadena, Valencia, etc. The other website lists the locations owned by the sisters' family, Hollywood, Montebello, etc. Neither website will tell you that the other locations exist. If you go to the Hollywood store and ask for directions to the Pasadena store, they will look at you like you just spoke an alien language. We don't know that place. It doesn't exist to us. It is the most petty, most confusing, most delicious feud in history. And that is the story of the Zankou Chicken murders. It's a story about the American dream gone wrong. It's a story about how success can destroy a family faster than failure ever could. Mardiros Iskenderian wanted to build a legacy, and he did. But it wasn't the legacy he wanted. He wanted to be remembered as the man who put a chicken shop on every corner. Instead, he He is remembered as the man in the white silk suit who killed his mom. But here's the darkest part of all. The chicken is still really, really good. People still line up. They still buy the wraps. They still smother their food in that garlic sauce. Most of them have no idea about the blood that was spilled to get that food on their plate. And maybe that's the ultimate tragedy. Life goes on. The business keeps running. The money keeps flowing. The dead are gone, and the living are still fighting over the profits. So the next time you eat at Zankou Chicken, take a moment. Look at that garlic sauce. And remember the white suit. Tell me in the comments, is there any amount of money that is worth fighting your family over? And be honest, does this story make you want to try the chicken more or less? Because I know some of you sickos are getting hungry right now. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. It helps the algorithm, and it helps me afford my own garlic sauce addiction. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more insane true crime stories, told the way only we can tell them.